Alright, so I'm working on the girlfriend's 2004 Buick Lesabre Limited, I believe it is. I do like the car, but 2 weeks ago it wouldn't start for her in the morning. So in a panic she called me and we went and swapped vehicles, and I thought I'd just give her a jump and then bring the car home and figure out what was going on. So that's what I did. So on the way home I thought, I don't know the condition of this battery, how old it is, anything. So I thought I'll just get a new battery. If it's not the battery, just take it back. So got it home and turned it off, turned it back to try to start it, and it just clicked. So I swapped out the battery. Same problem. Okay, so I was like, well, and it's time to order a starter. Well, that took a little bit of time because I found out I could get brand new starters on eBay for $40, and in local parts stores they wanted like $110, was the cheapest one I could find. So waited for the starter, just got done putting the starter on. Same thing, click, 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 and this is what it sounds like. So all of that kind of led me back to the fuse box. This is the front of the car, fuse box. Here's your two covers that are on the fuse box. This is the starter relay. There's a diagram in here. 36. Start one. And you'll notice there's three other relays on here that have the same number, 3604, so you can easily swap those. Take note of the indication of them because they can be put in backwards, and I'm not really sure if that affects it. I think these are wired so that does not actually matter if they're in backwards, but the actual prongs are oriented just offset enough that you can probably still get it in there and it might still work, but it's just not how it was meant to go in there. So that was one of the first things I did. I swapped, I think this one is maybe these two are cooling fan, and let's see, 38 was ignition. So this was ignition, and these two are cooling fans, I believe. Oh, these two were. So this one, and then 37. Yeah, okay. There's three cooling fan relays. So anyway, I swapped those, same thing. And then I looked, and this one is actually called the maxi breaker. I thought, well, if that thing is failing, maybe it could just be clicking on and off. So I swapped it with one of these, and I believe this is also cooling fan number 2 relay up here. I just put that in place of this, tried it, and exact same thing. So then I went back to the internet and did a little research, and everybody kept saying your cables are loose or corroded. Well, this is power from the battery, and this goes down to the starter. So obviously there's no corrosion here, and there's no corrosion inside because the battery's underneath the rear seat. So that's all nice and clean. But then I thought, I didn't really look at the grounds too hard, so that's when I found my actual problem, and I'll show you that now. Alright, so you're looking at the brand new starter I just put on. There's the AC compressor. And our electrical connections are going back there behind the starter. Then right here is the ground wire. Super loose. And this is making more and more sense because when we jumped it the morning that it quit, I actually seen sparks from up above down in this area. So that's what made me assume starter or solenoid or something. Never even thought that the ground was right there next to the starter. But I believe once I tighten that back up, we are good to go. Okay, so something interesting happened during that whole process. The bolt was tight. The wire was not. And then it dawned on me, the engine in this has been replaced before. And she told me about some other problems that she had with it, like the AC didn't work after they replaced the engine, like they maybe evacuated it and forgot to refill it. Well, apparently they took some shortcuts with the ground wiring as well. So I took it off and I put an extra washer or two on there so that when I tighten the bolt, the wire is very tight. Now, I didn't have any corrosion on the connection on the wire terminal, a very large terminal. It was still perfectly clean. It was covered in oil, so I did wipe the oil off, but I didn't have to scrape it, and I believe it's going to make a good connection now, so I'm going to give it a try and see what happens. Excellent. So that was a easy repair that was convoluted because of basically misdiagnosis from the beginning. The common stuff was checked first and taken too far, honestly. The battery, I could have just had them test it. The starter, I probably could have took the old one off and took it in to have them test it and not just replaced it. But in the end, yeah, just a loose ground wire on the engine, probably because of engine swap, mechanic being lazy and not tightening it good enough, not really looking at it. And it probably worked fine for a long time until it got really oily, because the engine does have oil leaks on it. But anyway, hope you enjoyed it.